Welcome to our fifth Flume Sales Chat. Today we have Katie McBride from DMG, who is a sales director over on the index portfolio in Dubai. We're here today to find out more about what Katie and her team has been doing. Katie's actually been nominated by various people as being someone who's been very instrumental in keeping them motivated and working in the best way with clients. So really keen to find out what she's doing, how she's achieving that, so we can share best practice with you guys and maybe you can take some of this into your teams as well. So welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ralph. Thanks for having me today.
No worries at all. So we're just going to start by just finding out a tiny bit about you first off, and your kind of take on the situation, how it's affecting your teams, and then we'll go into a bit of a chat.
Yeah, sure. So as you said, I'm sales director at DMG Events in Dubai, and I look after the index series. So it's interior design events across the Middle East. So I guess my take on the situation, it's obviously such a difficult time for all industries, particularly events. My events are large trade shows which showcase products. So whilst it's easy and possible to digitize some of our content, the main part of our offering is really about kind of touching, feeling, seeing actual physical products. That's really difficult to transfer easily into a webinar. I'm seeing lots of other events companies and lots of other events doing this really successfully and quickly. Of course, kind of for most event sales teams at the moment, sales are really difficult right now. Before the crisis and before the lockdown, sales were looking healthy. And whilst we've still got a good number of prospects, most of them are delaying their decisions. That's obviously what's kind of been quite difficult.
Yeah.
I guess what I really believe is that when the crisis is over, companies are going to need the best and the most time and cost-effective way of accelerating their business development. They've got to reconnect with existing clients, they've got to promote their products, and then, of course, shorten sales cycles. So whatever format the event is in, whether it's a one-to-one type meeting type format, it's conferences, it's confex, it's small round tables or large trade shows. Ultimately, what we do as an industry is provide the best platform to connect buyers with sellers.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be there to do when this is all over.
Okay, really interesting. So, and it's fascinating actually thinking about it with certain types of events, with the certain types of products and the ways that buyers buy and the touchy-feeliness of the interior side of things. Hi, Kat. You've got a cat.
Yeah.
It obviously does affect different industries in a very different way. So that's really interesting. So what I'm keen to find out about, first off, in terms of your team, is you've been nominated by three people. You know two of them, but three people actually nominated you as being an inspirational leader. So you're doing something right, Katie. And I'm just keen to kind of get your take on how are you keeping your teams as driven as possible in this tough time. Now, what's your secret?
Well, it's really flattering. That's really kind. So thank you very much. It's really hard, particularly now. The novelty, I think, of working from home is really starting to wear off. And I think in challenging times, people tend to either go into kind of a state of paralysis, and that maybe like they just want to kind of hide under the covers, don't make any kind of decisions, or they take it as a chance to think creatively, develop new experiences, and uncover kind of new opportunities. So I see it as an important part of my role to try to motivate the team to adapt and to a more positive approach to the situation. But you've always got to be mindful that everyone is going to have negative days, low times. That negativity is going to start creeping in, and some days it's just so hard just to motivate yourself. I think everyone has them. So I think in the current climate right now, it's not particularly motivating to set KPIs on a certain number of calls every day. A certain number of proposals need to be sent out. It's really difficult to monitor that, and I don't think it's particularly motivating or productive to force your sales teams to have to complete 50 dials a day, for example.
Yeah.
So I think what we've done as a team is we're reassessing what actually kind of good behaviour looks like. So we're in a climate where everyone is kind of operating in a completely alien environment. So what we've started doing, or what we have been doing for the last few weeks, whilst we've been working from home, is working on a goal, a kind of project-based model. So, of course, we're still prospecting, we're still speaking to potential clients, we're still keeping in touch with existing clients, but we're also completing projects that are going to add value to the team and our business when this crisis is over.
Could you give us an example of what you mean?
Yeah, sure. So for things like attending sales webinars, or and but personal development as well, kind of looking at maybe some leadership courses, or things like competitor analysis, product sector mapping, auditing our proposals, just things that potentially don't always have the most time to do, when we're not in a crisis like this, but just taking a bit of time just to really kind of make sure that we come out of this in a slightly not better situation, but actually we've developed some skills. So yeah, we have morning and afternoon calls, team calls. We celebrate the goals that we've achieved, projects that we've completed, and just making sure that we're staying on track with this.
That's interesting. So kind of the secret sauce is a combination of reassessing what good looks like, moving from the old typical KPIs of call numbers or proposal sinks that are really difficult to A, achieve, but B, to monitor, and moving more to kind of a project-based approach where people are continuously learning and getting better and better and sharing that learning and going through frequently with the teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's the best way to do it right now.
Okay, that's awesome. So tell us about, if you're able to, the kind of approaches your teams are using with clients, because the way, and you mentioned this earlier, the way clients are operating by making decisions, choosing who to speak to and who to interact with in their tough situations, it has changed, and you're redefining what good looks like. So what types of approaches your team's focusing on? What is that new behavior you're trying to get them to follow?
Yeah, sure. So I think the majority of the people that I've spoken to in whatever industry it is, and sales webinars that I've been on, events webinars, I think the majority of people are in agreement that the hard sales approach right now probably isn't appropriate.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone doing a hard sale on me, and so I can't imagine that anyone else feels the same way. But I also think that not communicating at all it is definitely not the right strategy either. So I think it's making sure that we are putting ourselves into the client's mindset. So our prospects' motivations and objectives have changed. They're probably likely to have heightened emotions. They're worried for their business. They might be worried for their own job, and many other kind of personal things and professional things. So it's our job as salespeople, and I believe it's actually our job as salespeople, whether we're in this crisis or we're not, to put ourselves in their shoes. So we need to understand what's happening in their business, establish their needs, and then understand how they want to come through this. What is the future post-crisis going to look like for them? Sorry.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, as a team, we've discussed this. We've agreed that actually, what does our event do? How do we help businesses? So what is our purpose? And what does our event need to achieve in order to help our clients get back on their feet, accelerate their sales after the crisis? So we then need to communicate that effectively to our potential clients, help them to see that future, picture that. So then when this crisis is over again, ours is the event that they turn to as the platform for their business development and their marketing.
So something I'm really interested in, because a lot of what you're talking about there kind of echoes a lot of the beliefs we have at Flume, which is fascinating. I'm really keen in a minute to find out how it's impacted the business as well and your team. But one of the things you talked about is kind of helping the client see through the fog, or the wood for the trees, whatever cliche phrase you want to use, and kind of think about what happens after the crisis to get them out of that paralysis state where they think, I don't know what to do. How are your team managing to do that? Because I speak to a lot of sales teams and that's quite difficult to do. I think it's the right thing to do, but how are you managing to get your client to see past the crisis?
Yeah, it is really hard. And to be perfectly honest with you, it certainly doesn't always work. There's obviously a lot of clients who are, as I said before, really, really worried about their businesses and how their businesses are going to come through this. I think it's important that we focus on how we're going to add value to them. It's not just about how much money we can generate from them. This is going to be the approach that's going to help us build relationships, improve their success and success of our events, and then help us kind of also to develop as well. So we've been really kind of talking to them about what were their objectives, how that's changed, what they think that's going to look like then in the future as well, and then obviously how we can then support them through that. So we've been looking at what kind of free digital content we can provide that's actually going to deliver benefit to our customers. So we want to make sure that we're providing a service that goes beyond the physical event, which is obviously really important, as I said in the beginning. So market reports and surveys are something that we've always regularly produced in the run-up to the event, but we're sharing these now. We're doing a lot of research and asking the community what actually is going to be insightful and help you right now, and speaking to them community and getting the answers. We're not the experts. We're at some events. So we're taking the combined knowledge that we know and sharing this. So our clients are looking at how they shape their future. So it's helping us to keep connected with them. We're providing that service and keeping that communication going.
That's so interesting. So can I just clarify, have you actually gone to your clients and said, or the community and said, what would help you? You've actually had that conversation, and that's given you the ability to work out what types of insights you need to be delivering to add that value.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've been doing, and we've been doing that to all sides of the kind of infrastructure within the industry.
Okay, so one of the things that when we first spoke about a week ago after your nominations, we talked about the fact that you had put your teams or encouraged your teams, and you mentioned this earlier in terms of kind of projects and things to watch webinars. You'd encourage them to watch our first webinar, I think, Selling in the Crisis. But when we talked back then, you said that it kind of cemented a lot of the things that you naturally believed about this situation and as a leader, but also it helped to, I think, cement with the team some of those behaviours. Can you just tell us that story briefly?
Yeah, so when I came across your webinar, and I think it was through the AEO actually, and so suggested it to my.
Thanks, AEO.
Yeah, exactly, and we're really lucky that as an industry we've got them as well. So I saw this and recommended it to the team, and they all jumped on, and it was actually an evening, because of time difference. It's actually an evening webinar for us, but they all did it, and we talked about it afterwards, and what was really great was you really kind of highlighted some of the points that we'd already agreed as a team that we were going to be following. So it was essentially around firstly, what purpose does our event, and do we serve? How do we serve our clients? And then it also goes back to putting yourself in your client's shoes.
Yeah.
Establishing their needs, adding value to every conversation we have. We should be doing this in all times as salespeople anyway, but even more so now. I think it's really important, because we're not doing the hard sell. No longer is it a call, how many square meters do you want? It's actually, what's going on in your business right now? What do you need? How can we support you? I think the other things that you talked about was actually in terms of kind of taking autonomy and mastery of certain kind of skills and things like that. So that's kind of where the goals and project based comes in. So the team are allowed they can choose whatever kind of webinars or additional kind of value add activities they want to be doing that they think is going to help.
Right.
And so it really kind of cemented a lot of the things that we were already discussing.
Okay, that's awesome. So, and I'm very pleased, and that's why we created them. So I'm really pleased you're kind of a walking, talking case study of that stuff. Although it sounds like a lot of this stuff is how you worked and believed anyway. So that's a real testament. So what I'm really interested now is has it actually had an impact? Because we've kind of talked about everything you've done, and the team are saying, yeah, we're motivated and brilliant leader. And that's great. But actually, in terms of what your clients are doing and how they're responding from these approaches, has there been any impact there at all?
There has. Look, it's certainly not an easy time at the moment. I don't think there are many people that are finding it easy at the moment. However, I think over the past few weeks, so to go back to an old kind of sales cliche that an old sales director said to me once was, he didn't mind getting no's because that always meant he was getting close to the next yes. And you kind of get that, but in the last few weeks, up until quite recently, we didn't get any no's, but we weren't having any yeses. It was just, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
So the uncertainty and lack of decisions is obviously really difficult, and that's our responsibility to try and move that forward. But in this situation, it's a really hard thing to do. So I think what we've been trying to do is helping that prospects to see that brighter future. Talking to them about how events will play a large part in reigniting their business, as well as showing them that we're supporting them through the different activity that we're doing now. So the results of that is actually we've been able to close some quite unexpected deals, but most importantly, we've been able to help build our pipeline. So we're at a point where we're confident when the crisis is over, we'll have a great base of customers who are ready to commit, because we've been in constant communication with them, not putting on the hard sell, but really making sure that we understand what their new objectives are, and most importantly, that they appreciate that we're looking to support them in reaching that.
Love it. That's awesome. So what we're going to do, just to finish, two things. Number one, over this incredibly different 4 or 5 weeks that we've all been going through, as a sales leader, what would you say the most important lesson you've learned has been so far?
So I think that I've realised a motivated team member will work hard no matter the situation. They'll be creative in finding the way to make the situation work for them. However, I suspect that an unmotivated or team member, not sure if that's the right word actually, will use the situation as an excuse. So I think that motivating the team is even more of a priority when in a difficult business climate. And I certainly haven't been in a more difficult business climate than this right now, and I'm not sure many people have. So yeah, I think just motivating the team is hugely important.
Yeah. And if you were on your team, or if you were a salesperson listening right now and you needed a tip, what would the one tip that Katie McBride from DMG give to a salesperson in media and events right now?
I think it's got to be using this time, whatever situation you're in, using this time to upskill yourself and focus on short-term goals you can complete. Because as salespeople, we're so motivated on revenue, the numbers, the getting that next deal in, and that is so hard to be making happen right now. So get those goals that you can complete in, upskill yourself so you are ready when this crisis is over, that you've got a huge amount of more skills that's going to help you in your career get to where you want to be. So speak to as many people as possible, whether that's industry thought leaders or great salespeople, great sales leaders that you admire and you think are doing a great job. Get to know your industry more. Audit your processes. Have a look at them. Do you think you're doing all the right activities that's leading you to success? Read books, watch TED Talks, participate in webinars. all these things that's just going to help you in your career, to just be that little bit better.